irresistible force such as you meets an old immovable object like me.
Our topic is the inverse of a function, or turning it inside out. An inverse function undoes what a function does. You've seen inverse operations before. In addition undoes subtraction, and division undoes multiplication. That means in this course, you'll need to be able to do three main things with inverses. Number one, given a function, can you graph its inverse? Number two, find the inverse of a given function. And number three, demonstrate that two functions are inverses of each other. I think this is another one of those topics that sounds worse than it is. Let me show you an example. In this question, I have to find the inverse of f of x, which is 5x minus 4. So all I end up doing when I try to find the inverse of a function is literally take x and y and switch them. In this case, instead of f of x, I'm going to write y. And so y is going to equal to 5x minus 4. I switch x and y and then solve for y again. So the inverse of the original function is just going to be x plus 4 over 5. Another type of question you need to be able to answer is to determine whether two functions are inverses of each other. Now, before I get into the specifics of this one, let me tell you how this is done. We're going to make two compositions of functions. First, we're going to take g and put it inside f, and then we're going to take f and put it inside g. And if both of them reduce to x, then I know they're inverses of each other. Let's go back to our original question. Determine whether f of x, which equals 3x minus 1, and g of x, which is equal to x plus 1 over 3, are inverses of each other. First, I'm going to figure out what f of g of x is. In other words, put the g function in for the letter x in the f function. I get 3 times the quantity, x plus 1 over 3, minus 1. The 3's cancel. Plus 1 and minus 1 cancel. I'm just left with x. Now I have to see if it works both ways, though. G of f of x. So I'm going to take the f function and put it in the g function instead of the letter x. So I'm going to get 3x minus 1 and then add 1 divided by 3. The 1's will cancel, the 3's will cancel, and I'm left with x. So the answer to this question is, determine whether these two are inverses of each other. These two functions are indeed inverses of each other. The third type of question you need to be able to answer with inverses is to graph the inverse of a given function. And in this case, I have g of x equals the square root of x minus 2. If you can get the visual on this, then inverses are very easy. The domain and range swap places from a function to its inverse. So if you're asked to graph the inverse of a function, what you do is you graph the original, and then just swap all the x and y values to graph the inverse. The quick way to graph the inverse of a function is to remember that a function and its inverse are reflected over the line y equals x. When you're asked to draw a function and its inverse, you may choose to draw the line y equals x as a dotted line and let that act as a great big mirror. So I plotted some points. I sketched my graph. I'm going to plot the inverse, or the reversed version, of these points, 0, 2, 1, 3, 2, 6. I'm going to connect up my curve and label it. And that's how you draw the inverse of a function. Now I'd like you to try a couple on your own. Please pause the video now and come up with an answer to the following question. In this one, the algebra gets a little bit cute, so I thought I'd show it to you. So first I'm going to write the function without the k of x. Then I'm going to switch the x and y values. Now, I got to get y all alone, so the first thing I'll do is get rid of the y in the denominator, so the fraction's gone. I'm going to multiply both sides by y minus 1, so on the right side they'll cancel. Then I'm going to multiply through the parentheses. Then I'm going to try to get the y alone. I think what I'm going to end up doing first, I could add that x to both sides, or I could subtract. I think I'll add the x to both sides first, and then just so it's a little cleaner. And then I'm going to subtract 3y from both sides. And now I think I can factor out the y, so that'll be alone, and then divide both sides by x minus 3. And my inverse is going to be, ran out of room here, y is equal to x over x minus 3. Again, I'd like you to try this question on your own. Determine whether f of x and g of x are inverses of each other. Please pause the video now, come up with an answer, start it again when you're ready. So this one I had to show you just as a little reality check. So I'm going to place both functions inside each other. I'll start with f of g of x. Means I'm going to take the g function and put it inside the f function, which means I have to cube this binomial. Let's see, cube root of x plus 1 times the cube. You know, when I get done multiplying this out, and I'll be glad to, but x isn't going anywhere, and there's just going to be a lot of 1s left over. So it turns out that x is not going to cancel out of this. This isn't going to reduce. This is just not going to simplify to x. So I don't even have to do the other one. There is no way that these two are inverses of each other. Okay, last question, just for practice. Determine whether f of x and g of x are inverses of each other. Pause the video now, see what you get. Alright, as you probably already figured out, the first one was mean, but this one is a nice demonstration. So first I figure out f of g of x, which means I take the g function and put it into the f function. So let's see, multiply through the parentheses, 1 minus 1 plus 2x. The 1's cancel, the 2's cancel, and I'm left with x. Now, I have to check the other side of that, but I'm feeling good about this. G of f of x, 1 minus 2 times the f function, 1 minus x over 2, and the 2's are going to cancel. So I'm just going to get 1 minus x, and then 1 minus 1 plus x, which reduces down to x. So the question is, are these inverses of each other? And the answer is, they are inverses. And that's it. Just to review, you need to be able to do 3 things. Graph the inverse of a function, find the inverse of a function, and demonstrate that 2 functions are inverses of each other. Thank you for your time and attention.
Find out as sure as we live something